All right, give me just 1 second here. We'll get everything up and going. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode number 53. 353. There we go. Of my weekly GEMP game review series. I am your host, Chris Gogolin. Thank you all for joining us this evening. So, tonight's agenda, we'll go through a couple of, see what's going on in the old GEMP world in terms of games. Probably Dwarfs and Tom can be an interesting game there. We'll pop into that one for a second, see what's going on. But it's Map Throne Room, which we've looked at more than a few times. And then we'll talk about some other stuff that's going on, upcoming major events, and I do have some some preview cards to show off that should be getting mailed out to some people soon. The April and May OCS foil cards this week. I also can tell you, because I have them already as well, the online play weekend, which is coming up here in about 2 weeks, I have those foils as well. Those look really friggin' awesome. Very excited by those, but you can't spoil those just yet. We'll be saving those for next week's show. But start planning to book yourself a couple hours of free time the weekend of the 22nd, 23rd, because you are definitely going to want to be there for that. And talking about spoilers, we will cover. There's been a couple of Set 11 cards spoiled already on the PC forums. We will take a quick peek at those as well. Oh, looks like that game wrapped up. Werf's threw in the towel. Tom is the winner. Okay. And looks like just some casual games waiting there. All right, so while we do that, we'll do a couple housekeeping items. Let's make this a little bigger for a minute so we can spoil some cards. At least one right now. We'll do one more later. The April OCS foil, for those of you who played at least 8 games, is Stolen Data Tapes, and it is an AI of that. Not the, quite the clearest image there. That's the disk itself that held all the data on it. For a second look, they're looking at it. I thought it was a droid or some sort, with like a big bullseye in the middle of it. But it is the actual disk that they steal in Rogue One and are running around the Tantive and everything with. Um, and I guess that's like, Vader's hand or something like that as he's killing everybody trying to get it back. So there's spoiler or reveal number 1. Drop some spoilers for set 11. If you, Chris Kelly, if you want to send me a couple of cards to or game text that I can spoil for set 11, I would be more than happy to do that. We can do that once a week, whatever, until you whenever you release the official set, the full spoiler list. We can drop a couple cards. We should talk. We should have talked about that yesterday. Um, but yeah, so there's card number 1. We'll get to the second one a little bit later. Obviously, North American Continentals is coming up. This is the big major event that I did want to talk about. The pre-registration is now available. That's the other thing that I did want to spoil. Aha, there's a second spoiler. I lied. I have one more card to spoil because, well, it's a very pretty card. Um, So, pre-registration info is up here. I have to update this. A couple more people did sign up. Um, here's all the links right there. Here's the weekend pass is a little different this year. We don't have the room until later Friday evening, so we don't get it until 6 because there's another event in the hotel earlier that day. So they won't have those people out of there and then have it all cleaned up and set up for us until about 6 o'clock on Friday. So we opted to run with instead of doing a team event, this is the John Anderson Memorial event. John Anderson wasn't known for playing in many team events. He did play a couple from time to time, but he was also known for trying to do other stuff with people on Friday nights, whether it be some last-minute play testing, some board gaming, or taking in some local events like baseball games. He very much loved baseball, was a big Minnesota Twins fan, so we have a group trip planned for anybody who wants to attend and go to the game. Tigers at the Twins Friday night. It's like a 7 o'clock game. I had posted it was an 8 o'clock game, but it was showing me East Coast time because it was my time zone, not their time zone. Stupid Google. So that's what we're doing, and the weekend pass will include that. It's like a it's group outing kind of thing. You'll get a ticket to the game, and um, I don't know, we'll have some other stuff. We are trying to invite John's parents to come with us, which I think would be pretty cool for all of us to be there at the game with them. If you're not into baseball or didn't know John or have no interest in that at all, there's definitely going to be some people who will also probably not be interested who'll be in the game room in that evening playing some board games, playing some card games, um, play testing, whatever. So there will be stuff to do Friday night depending on whenever you book your flights and your flights get in. And then, of course, 8 game Saturday, 6 game Sunday, final confrontation, top 8, all those fun stuffs as usual. But I did mention that, if from now until June 13th, so you have about a month, the event's 2 months away, so halfway point. If you know you're coming, sign up. A lot of people have already booked their flights and stuff, so pre-register, get that done and out of the way. Um, you get a $5 discount off your price. Normally it'd be $65 for the weekend because that includes the ticket to the baseball game, or just $35 for the main event on Saturday. But you get $5 discount. And pre-registration, there is some cool swag from the marketing team. Props to Chris Menzel and his team for getting all this stuff together. Everyone gets a Dutch slip. Everyone also gets a pin and a commemorative lanyard. I'd probably say John Anderson Memorial on it with the date. I saw the graphic for it, but I'm forgetting offhand exactly what's on it. Pre-registration for Continentals or for Euro Worlds. Ray EPP AI foil. Now we did the regular Ray foil for a different event, but we have an AI, and it looks like this. And I think this is a very cool graphic. I'm looking forward to using this in my decks, and we'll certainly be interested in trying to get extras of these. So, as I'm sure many of you will as well. But that's a pretty sweet one. So there's card number 2. Oh, I don't want to move me. I just want to shrink me so I'm not so gigantic. So sign up so you can get EPP Ray. Very cool, like I said. Also for pre-registration for Worlds. We don't have that set up through the PC store. I have to talk to Menzel. I'm sure everyone's just paying him because most of the players attending Worlds are going to be European, and they kind of collect their own money. And then that way there's not the transaction fees of converting it into US dollars and then the PC store collecting it and then paying it back to them in euros. Anybody who wins, usually Menzel just collects all the money and handles that. So I'll have to talk to him about how he's going to do his pre-registration lists for that to make sure everyone gets EPP Ray foils. So go ahead and sign up. Get yourself signed up through the PC store. Links are right here. PayPal is your friend. Pay with credit card or wherever you need to. But that's right there. Down for board gaming, no baseball. Okay, Dorsch. Well, yeah, that's cool. See, I'm sure there's going to be a few other people in there who will be doing the same thing. And you're already giving away your foil to Chris Kelly. Ugh. And then he said thanks. Ugh. He stole your catchphrase. Um, but we've got some set 11 spoilers as well. 2 cards have been spoiled so far. We'll talk about them real quick. They've been kind of up there on the forums for a little while now. Controversial one, of course, is this Vice Admiral Holdo. You remember her? That's Laura Dern from the movie. The chick with the purple hair who suicides herself to save the tiny little ships. And they came up with a thematic way to represent her last shining moment. Adds 2 to the power of any capital starship she pilots, and she's an admiral, so pullable with rebel leadership. She's a resistance character, so admiral resistance. They could use them; those are always just good. Hopefully, that'll make the old allies and things like that rely less on rebels and get more and more away from rebels. like the objective should be. During battle, if piloting a capital starship, this is the controversial part, may place it and Holdo out of play to add X to your total battle destiny, where X is that starship's armor plus hyperspeed. So armor plus hyperspeed. Usually you're somewhere in the 8 to 10 range because most capitals have a hyperspeed of 3. Some of them, the transports are 4s or 5s, like the Luminous and things like that. And then they have armor as well, like right in that 3 to 4 range. So you're looking at somewhere between 8 and 10. This is a weapons segment action, I guess. I think that's what it's thematically supposed to be, and it seems like it would be. I mean, you're adding X to your total battle destiny when you don't have a total yet, but you're gonna have a total. So yeah, so you can add 8 to 10 to your total battle destiny. That still's going to require you to have other ships there to take advantage of this. She's going to go away. You're going to lose the forfeit of her, the forfeit of the ship, the power of the ship, and in turn convert that into a battle destiny bonus, which is total. So it gets around things like Imperial Justice, which is not modifying an individual draw, it's modifying the total. Very thematic. Certainly a way to get 8 to 10 added on to crack the immunity of something like the Executor or the Finalizer. It's going to make things a little more challenging for those token dark side space decks that like to just load up a ship or two. Imperials will still probably be fine because they've got plenty of forfeit boosters with Code Clearance and IAO and even Captain Palayan. Excuse me. So they'll still pretty much be okay. Map might be in a little bit more trouble. That Finalizer is probably going to not stand up so well. But again, you have to have other ships there to do it. It's probably more likely what you'll end up seeing is Map, the Finalizer engaging against, Tantive or something else with a guy or two already on it, and then Lightside will deploy this and kind of come over the top with it and try and clear Darkside out of space. They're going to have some extra forfeit fodder on there or a way to reduce battle damage, whether it's with an attrition or something like that. So, yeah. Certainly controversial. It's caused a bit of people had some very heated discussions in this 106 posts, as to whether they like it, whether they think it's a little. She deploys for 3. The Corvettes, the cheaper ships kind of deploy for 3. So for 6 deploy, possibly less, depending on what other cards you might have in play. Between EBO or Haven or anything like that, you could easily get a very cheap but very profitable way to gain control of the game. The other part is that she's not required currently. This may go through a final revision with proofing, but the way it is currently, there doesn't have to be another ship here. So if Darkside deploys and lateral damage the ship to try and beat it down for 30 overflow, she could just suicide herself and get right out of it. It's a built-in get out of jail free card, unless there's going to be something that somebody can use to cancel her game text. I don't know. I haven't looked for those cards yet, but something like like Vader does on the ground. If there's something like that you could do in space to cancel her game text for the remainder of turn or something like that, then she would be up Poops Creek without a paddle. So certainly should change a few matchups, make games a little bit more interesting, and play out a little differently. That was spoiler number 1. Set 11 spoiler card number 2 was just released this morning by Mr. Ryan Jellison. I don't know if he designed this card, if this was like a player-created card of his, or if he's just on the design team again. It's hard to keep track. But we've got Make 10 Men Feel Like 100. Kind of a provocative name, but I know it's a quote from Jin in the Rogue One movie. If Stardust on table, so again, going to help out the No Idea deck, because that's the only one that would have the Stardust on table. You deploy it on table. Saw is a spy and a resistance agent, so that makes him a spy. So that also works pretty well with the No Idea deck, because most of their guys are spies, but not all of them. So this would give him one extra spy. Also makes him a resistance agent, since No idea can't play Luke. They kind of had, well, they can play. I think they can play. They can't play any of the Jedi Lukes. I think they can play the non-Jedi versions of him. I haven't played No Idea in a little while. I thought Jin said it. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't seen Rogue One in a while either. But yeah, but it gives them a resistance agent. Makes Saw so, and he's already pretty good on his own. You know what? Let's do this real fast. Let's look up old Saw Gerrera. Bam. Attrition against opponent is +1 here for each of their characters present. That's pretty good. Helps clear out guys. Opponent may not reduce your force drains here. Well, that's also pretty good. They can't Image of the Dark Lord or Ralop's objective. He's a leader. That comes in handy sometimes. Once per game, if in battle with an Imperial or Rebel, lose top card of reserve deck to cancel a non-immune to sense interrupt. That could also be very helpful for canceling things like Trooper Assault, blast points against map, Imperial commands or tramples against, other Imperial decks. Possibly something like an I Have You Now, because he's an ability 3 Rebel. You could just cancel that. It's once per game, so you got to pick and choose wisely what you want to do. Um, but yeah, there's a number of things. Sniper, something like that. Just no, you're not going to sniper my guy. Sorry. It's not immune to sense though, so you can't do something like, oh, I'm going to cancel your Gick. That would be way too broken. So giving this guy some access to the No Idea deck, which is this fun objective here. They have no idea we're coming. Yeah, you can't deploy Jedi, Bays, Chirrut, or Rebel troopers or spies. So you could still play, you could play some resistance characters like Rey or Solo, which I guess you do see pop up in these lists, or non-Jedi Luke, which would probably be Farm Boy Virtual, Luke Virtual. Um, I haven't seen anybody use Commander Luke, but I guess that would be another option. You could do some type of Luke spy speeders thing, maybe. Um, Probably not though, but hey, you never know. Maybe it'll work. Probably too card intensive, but so yeah, so you get, and then once per game you can deploy Saw from reserve deck, so that helps you get him out faster as well, which again should help change the matchup against map because now you've got guaranteed access to your resistance agent, which if you can keep him alive should be pretty good. Rebel spies are deploy -1, so you just made Saw a spy. Now he deploys cheaper, plus all your other guys are spies, all your troopers and stuff like that, plus all the actual spies that you might have in your deck, because there's a handful of those too. People like Cornhorn, people like Cassian, um, that are already spies, and Jin. Um, I think Bodhi is also a spy, so you already have 4 or 5 inherent spies, plus the objective makes a bunch of other guys into spies. So yeah, it's pretty good. During battle, if you just drew a rebel spy for Destiny, retrieve a force. Well, that's pretty handy. Just you draw a bad card for Destiny, and you get to retrieve a force. And then you can play something like Jedi Lev, or use Captain Hera and redraw it, because the way it's worded right now, you don't have to, keep the Destiny. You can still redraw it after you retrieve. You might possibly draw a second one for a spy and get to retrieve 2 in the same turn. Um, Hyperdrive used to kind of work a little bit like that. That was kind of reworded to say, if you just drew and not redrawn, you get to do this benefit. Because people used to play Hyperdrive with things like Hans Dice or things like that let you redraw your Destiny. So they could draw multiple times when they only had one Destiny draw. They would draw 2 or 3 and then get to retrieve force each time. This is only spies, so it's a little bit more selective. But if you've got a dozen spy characters in the deck, there's pretty good chance you're going to draw one for Battle Destiny. And Ryan was also kind enough to post a sample deck list here, which I believe has about a dozen spies in it, at least or so. But the downer to this card is Nightfall is canceled. So some of the traditional ways of setting this deck up involve, you use Walkling, you throw Nightfall on the system, and then you make all your spies deploy free. Darkside counters that by playing the Imperial detention shield, which then makes all your spies. It is one ruled, so just one retrieval per battle. Eh, if you just drew a rebel spy for Destiny. Okay, singular, sure. Well, that's helpful then. So then why was I guess some of the wording on hyperdrive was slightly different, and that's why it didn't quite work. Hmm. Hang on for 1 second. The wife is playing very loud music upstairs. Okay, so yeah, usually you'd play Nightfall. You'd drop a bunch of spies. They'd play the shield, so then all your spies would cost 2. This essentially makes your spies deploy -1. Most of those guys were 2 or 3 force to begin with, so now the 2 cost guys are cheaper because they're only costing 1. The 3 cost guys are costing 2, which is what they would have cost anyway with the shield out. It's going to be the slightly more expensive guys um, who don't quite get as cheap. Corn Horn, was 4. Jin was 4. They're going to be 3 instead of 2, but I'm sure there's still a good balance there. So good card. I like it. I think it certainly gives that deck a little boost, a little punch, and should certainly make that a bit more popular. It's a pretty strong deck. It does put a lot of cards on the table, so that is its downfall. And as you can see from Ryan's sample list here, he's got 27 characters in it. Um, Lots of them are spies and things like that, but you're still looking at, you get a lot of power and things, but new set 11 character. And I don't know how many people caught that when they're reading through his sample list, that he just has new set 11 character listed there, along with extra system and site as well. So, in his spoiler list. Oh, no worries. So those are your set 11 spoilers, and I'm sure there'll be more coming soon. I believe the tentative release date for set 11 is like the August 1st, is when the cards should go live, and so then the spoiler list will probably be out the next couple weeks, and then we'll try and get the PDF out late July. Um, I know we've got the European Championships is July 12th to the 14th. The cards will not be legal for that, so I would expect them to probably come out the week after, right around the at least the full. The spoiler list might be out then, so they can have something to talk about while they're all sitting around all weekend playing cards. But yeah, I wouldn't expect to see the PDF of the cards until maybe like the last week of July. But you'll probably get some spoiler text right around the 15th or so. So that should be cool. Give us some new cards, shake things up a little bit. And, speaking of shaking things up a little bit, rsersen had some free time on his hands the last week or so and was very kind enough to compile some data on all 52 of my shows so far, going all the way back to all the YouTube links and things like that. Um, God, I can only imagine what going back and watching those first 2 episodes, just how much this show has evolved since episode 1. But he put in the data and compiled the decks of all the featured games that I've reviewed, which decks have been featured the most, which decks have been featured the least, both light and dark, which decks have some of the highest win percentages and the lowest win percentages in the games that I've reviewed. And then he compiled it all into this handy dandy spreadsheet, which I have linked in the first post. So bam, there's the data of the show, there's the decks that were used, there's which deck won, and here's the people who played them, and here's the link to watch the actual show. All compiled together. He even put a little asterisks, the weeks I did Premier New Hope sealed format or the Premier Death Star 2 format, when I did some of the specialty weeks to try and showcase some of the other formats that are available on GEMP. It's not all just constructed standard. There are some other fun things that you can play from time to time. So that's what we looked at here. Oh, yep. A couple of Ralops decks the last few weeks. Yeah, Ralops has been popular the last few weeks because it's probably one of the most popular dark side decks right now. But we're going to get away from that this week with our featured match. So I put it out there that if people had some of the decks that are in this least featured category to send me some lists, Hidden Base. Well, we just saw Rescue the Princess last week. But Light Senate, WAP, Rebel Strike Team, Mind What You Have Learned, Dark Deal, Watto, Dark Combat, My Kind of Scum. Those are kind of decks that really have not been featured much. So if you guys have any good game links involving those decks, feel free to shoot them on over here so we can try and, continue to show the case the diversity in Star Wars and all the decks that are available. Mm-hmm. Hitco needs helpers. No, Hitco doesn't need helper. So lots of cool stuff here. Thank you to Ryan for putting this all together. He says he's going to try and keep it updated as much as on a regular basis, and just having all the YouTube links all in one place is also pretty easy. Of course, you can always find access to the YouTube links right here in my signature. Right below my Hall of Fame sticker is the now streaming on Twitch and YouTube. There's the YouTube channel. There's my personal Twitch channel as well. So you can get right to here, and then you can find all of these videos going all back there. But you can also just go right to the first page. I also, just so it wouldn't get lost, I updated the OP, which I hadn't done in quite a while. Updated this to make it more current, because I started off originally just as a podcast with just me talking. And then it became a YouTube thing where I was uploading stuff to YouTube. And now we're live on Twitch with, video and GEMP game links and actually all that kind of stuff. So really come a long way in the last 52 episodes. It's been a little more than a year. I think I started in maybe March of last year. I think were the first links. Hang on, I'll tell you. There you go. March 27th is when the first uploads were. So the first show. I did multiple game links the first few weeks, because I didn't have a lot of other stuff to talk about. I was just doing the GEMP show reviews. Wasn't incorporating as much of the PC business back then. So thank you, Ryan, very much for putting that all together. My new loyal fan there. Very much appreciated. I'm sure the community will appreciate just being able to go to this spreadsheet, look up like, hey, I need to know how to play TTO. Oh, bam, there you go, right there. I can learn how to play TTO. Or how do you play? What's this CCT deck? I don't know how it plays. Bam, there you go. I can find it. What was this Bring 'Em Before Me deck I kept hearing about? They used all this skull stuff. There it is right there. So very helpful stuff. And thanks again to Ryan for doing that. Let's see if we have anything in the old GEMP lobby. Qualifier just starting. Dorsch with his throne room. Uh-oh, multitasking. Just hearing, hey, Chris Gogolin here 52 times in a row that threatened my sanity. I could say it 52 times right now, but I'm not gonna. I don't want to be that guy. I mean, I like hearing the sound of my own voice, and I really like hearing my name, but not like that. Yeah, definitely some very good stuff. So thank you very much, Ryan, for that. We'll pop into this game in a little bit. I don't know if Dorsch is still here. I don't want to give him any tips against Tom. Looking at the OCS standings for June real quick. Chris Kelly's sitting at top. He's what's this, 8-3 right now. He's got one game left to play. He could get to 30 points. That'd be 9-3. He's already qualified, so that would kind of just set a little bit of a roadblock barrier for people possibly creating one of those at-large bids. A few other people here have 12 points. These aren't going to hold up very long at all. Matt Wadden, 6-2, has a chance to get that 10-2 mark, which is usually what you need to be in the running. Then we come down here to some other guys who are 4-2. These are 4-1. So still plenty of games to be played here. In this range here. We're only, we're a third of the way through the month, so still plenty of time left to go, and still plenty of people who haven't even started playing their games yet. So we'll see if they make a run at it for June. And today is actually the last day to sign up. If you haven't signed up for the June OCS, you have a couple hours left to go to the PC store and pay your $10. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until next month to play. But we are gonna go ahead and get to our featured match, which was submitted to us by rsersen, playing one of the decks that was on the uh, low cost list or low represented list. Let's make this nice and big. That's what she said. So, he is playing MWYHL Learned. He has selected Ray as his resistance agent against I Want That map. Map will start its usual bow, you'll be dead stuff. We'll go into MWYHL Learned in a second once all these cards finish getting deployed and see just exactly what kind of shenanigans he's up to. Okay, so MWYHL Learned, a deck we have not seen in quite a while, so let's run through how it usually works. So you start with Dagobah, can't be converted. Dagobah lets you pull locations. During your deploy phase, deploy one Dagobah site from reserve deck, shuffle, cut, and replace. The old Decipher wordings are always amusing. Neither player may force drain here is the dark side text, so dark side can't go there and get a drain at 2, and neither can light side. Dagobah has specific deployment restrictions. Basically, nobody can go there except Yoda and Son of Skywalker, Daughter of Skywalker, without the benefit of the helper effect, encampment, which nobody has played in 20 years, or using Jedi Test 1's ability. Jedi Test 1 says that you can deploy, you deploy it at the location, target a mentor, and, you can target or deploy an apprentice. So that does let you one per game kind of way. If you wanted to send somebody like, oh, I'm going to train Padme, that would be your workaround for that, but it would only be for her that one time. MWYHL Learned continues to say, during your deploy phase, you can deploy Luke, Yoda for -2, Yoda's Hope at peace, and or Luke's backpack to Dagobah from reserve deck. This is all one big run-on sentence, so it's and or here, so it's one action. So you search your reserve deck, and you can deploy, if you had enough force, all of these things at the same time. Right off the bat, go Luke, Yoda, Yoda's Hope, the backpack, and you're all set and ready to start training. Whenever you draw a training destiny, draw 2 and choose one. So you get to draw 2 cards, pick whichever one's higher to give you a better opportunity to complete your Jedi tests. We'll get into those a little later when they hit the table. His completed Jedi tests go on table. Your cards at Dagobah may not force drain or contribute to force retrieval. So you can't do things like on the edge targeting Luke while he's on Dagobah, and you can't, put a lightsaber on him and have him sitting at Yoda's hut draining for 1. Those were degenerate strategies way back in the day. Excuse me, in the 1997, 96, 97 meta that were, pretty god awful. I think Dagobah came out in like April of 97. I think that sounds right. Right around senior year, high school. God, I'm old. So that's about when that happened, and people that was the top decks then. People would you would do Jedi training on Dagobah, and you'd throw Jedi lightsabers on whoever your guys that you had there, and put something on Yoda to make him a warrior, and slap him with a Jedi lightsaber too, and then put him at just different sites and drain one, go, and that's all you would do. And you would just try and mitigate your opponent's damage, and because they couldn't come battle you, their only option was to load guys onto a ship, move to Dagobah, land the ship, have everybody get off, and it took quite a few turns to get that to happen, and then they would just run away from you for a while. So, and then just like Hunt Down, it has the add 4 to each player's Destiny draw, Force Sense, and Alter. So, very hard to do Sense and Altering against MWYHL Learned or with it. And with Hunt Downs out, they both add. So therefore, you're adding a total of 8, which means that you're never gonna pull off a Sense or an Alter with that. If you complete Jedi Test 5, you flip it. Most people don't go that far. You retrieve 10 Force, you stack a card, Yeah, test 5, that whole thing. During your move phase, you can pick Luke up. Cards go used. Um, Jedi tests are suspended whenever he's not on table. You can ignore deployment restrictions. So basically, just like in the movies, you can pick Luke up and then send him off to fight once he finishes training through Test 5 with Yoda. But most people don't get that far. The helper effect, the way of things, if Yoda is on Dagobah and Jedi Test 3 is present with Target Apprentice, it is completed automatically. So most people tend to stop at Test 3. They'll just do a quick testing. Test 1, 2, and 3 have the biggest benefits. Test 1 cancels all their Force Drain bonuses everywhere. Test 2, they now require 6 ability to draw Battle Destiny instead of 4. And Test 3 lets you subtract 1 from every single Destiny draw they make anywhere for the rest of the game. Battle Destiny, Weapon Destiny, all kinds of stuff. Overload draws, whatever. Um, you can subtract from all that kind of stuff. Ellis, Neighbor, and whatever. Ellis or not that you'd want to subtract in that case, but you could if you wanted to. You can't play Surprise Assault. That's good. Surprise Assault, when you have a stacked card on Test 5, you just stack a 7 over there, and you're like, oh, I'll just Surprise Assault. And then every card I would draw, I'll just make 7s, and then all your guys are, screwed. Your apprentice's land speed equals 2. It can't be targeted by set for stun. That was the other way to get around. Jedi testing was just you set for stun the apprentice, and then all the Jedi tests are lost. So helper effect says you can't do that. So that's the basics behind MWYHL learned, and we'll get into more of the Jedi training as the tests hit the table. Middle school, the first time you bought an entire box of cards. Yeah, me too. Dagobah was the first one. My cousin was working at a game shop, so he got like the wholesale price. So there was 4 of us. It was me and my 3 cousins who all played the game. We went halvesies on a case. We each got a box, and then we split the last 2 boxes. So we all got a box and a half of Dagobah. And then we opened all our packs and realized just how bad all these Dagobah cards were. And we're like, damn it, this game's going to be boring for a while. So map setting up the usual way. I'm not sure when this game was from. I guess we'll see if Hux had the errata to him or whatnot. It's probably pre-errata, but he already had strategic reserves, so no worries there. Map not needing the shuttle. They got Kylo, they got the trooper, they got the blaster. There's another trooper. He's deploying all the troopers. He's not going to have them to cancel any drains. But he did go pretty quickly here for turn 1, which is usually what you want to do against a deck like Dagobah. Dagobah is going to be, one of those decks that, like EBO, like the Jedi training here, they take 2 to 3, like Senate sometimes too. They take 2 to 3 turns to get set up, to get their effects out, to get everything going. And if you can force them to top deck something early that might be critical, you can really put the game on tilt. And give yourself a better chance to win. So usually, Map already tries to go fast to kind of have pressure on everybody to begin with. But a deck like MWYHL learned is a little fragile in the first couple turns, so it could go downhill pretty quickly. But he does get 6 force here, which I believe is the magic number, because Yoda deploys for 2, and then usually people train Daughter. Daughter would deploy for 4. So there's the training area. I'll go look for the site. He's going to command. He can't grab it. He gets Hux now. Oh, he's going to go pull the Jedi test instead. Okay, so he gets Great Warrior. We'll see that in a second. I guess he didn't want to let his opponent verify his deck to find out whether or not since he had 2 of his 3 sites, it's probably the only sites he's playing. Yeah, but Yoda's Hut in the middle. Oh, interesting. Usually you see, he does have land speed too, but usually you'll see Yoda's Hut in the middle of the deployment because Test 2 goes on an unoccupied site and Test 3 goes on the jungle. Test 2, your opponent can move it at the start of the turn, so usually, if you're at the hut and you deploy it on the jungle, then they have the option to move it to the hut, which would move it to you, in which case then you don't have to worry about moving. Or if they leave it there, then you move to it, and then you complete it, test 2, on your control phase. You deploy test 3, and then test 3 is immediately completed, which is not how you want to play it, because you want your opponent completing test 3 as late as possible, because that's the one that subtracts 1 from all the destiny draws. You want them completing it in their move phase, as opposed to their deploy phase, because then they can't deploy battle and start subtracting right away. So that would be the buy boxes at Walden Books. Wow. It was from the last week post errata. He open-handed it. Okay. Thanks, Ryan, for that update there. So yeah, it's just a little tip with the site deployment. Usually it's Yoda's hut in the middle, and then the training area and the jungle on either side, just because of the test 2 movement text. Now he's going to go get some stuff. The only real virtual helper card that's come out is Yoda Virtual, which is a great helper card. It's kind of almost worth playing Mind What You Have Learned just to do that. So we're going to get Daughter coming out now for 4. So deploys -3. May be deployed instead of Luke by Mind What You Have Learned. Card targets Leia instead for remainder of game. While at any exterior site, she adds 1 icon, immune to less than 4. Is there not a virtual daughter anymore? I feel like there was. Maybe it's on. Nope. And then you got virtual Yoda, who's pretty cool. There used to be a virtual daughter. Again, I haven't kept up with my own Chevrolet cards. Basically, if you got her in your opening hand, you were screwed, because the objective has to deploy her in order for her to then be targeted by it. The virtual version would let you put her at the bottom of your reserve deck, so then you could use the objective to deploy her. She's virtual, but she's worthless. She's like unplayable. Well, now I gotta go look this up. Please hold. What does Virtual Daughter do? If in hand, may place her under reserve deck. May be targeted instead of Luke by Mind What You Have Learned. That card then targets Leia. You can download Reflection, which doesn't really do you any good. And she's immune to less than 4, which doesn't really matter because nobody's ever battling her because she's on Dagobah. She also deploys for 5 instead of 4, so yeah, not worth using. So I guess you just have to run the risk that you just hope you don't get her in your opening hand. Or actually, even if you do, you don't really care because you're not really testing all the way anyway. So you're probably fine there. But Yoda's the card that makes the deck kind of worth playing other than the tests. Prevents attacks at same Dagobah site, so you can't use creatures, which was the other workaround. Certain creatures could go to Dagobah and you would just eat their apprentice. Trading Destiny draws are +1. Here's the key part. If Great Warrior on table, once per turn, may take your just drawn Destiny into hand to cancel and redraw that Destiny. And he's completely immune to attrition. That's once per turn. Take just drawn Destiny into hand to cancel and redraw that. So that's any Destiny draw. So at the beginning of your turn when you're doing your Jedi testing and it says draw 2 and pick one, you can take one of the cards you drew into hand and redraw a third one to give you a better opportunity to complete your test. More likely than not, you're going to have a bunch of 4s and 5s in the deck anyway. You're going to complete your early tests pretty easily. So then it's going to help you just get characters and other key cards into hand. And then later when you're sending those guys like EPP, OB, and whatnot out to fight and you're drawing weapon destinies or battle destinies, he gives you some more manipulation, getting more guys back into your hand and making sure that you hit things and crack immunity and stuff like that. Very strong card is Yoda, but he does require the Great Warrior to be on table, which kind of limits him to just being within this deck type. They changed the rule. She can be targeted even when played from hand. Oh, that's cool then. Well, then, yeah, Daughter doesn't do jack crap. Yeah, having Yoda at the hut is also a benefit as well, because if Yoda here once per turn, you can subtract 2 from attrition against you at another location. So between subtracting 1 with Jedi Test 3 and then Yoda subtracting 2 from your total attrition, A lone EPP Obi going into a battle, if they draw a 3 or less, he might get to live. So everybody gets a little token immunity, because of the Yoda text at the hut as well. So some good stuff there. And then you can play other cards like They're Tracking Us to subtract one more. Um, might be a little overkill, but sometimes it does come in handy. So now we've got Yoda and we've got Daughter together. They're at the hut. Time to play Great Warrior, which is Jedi Test number 1. You deploy it on a site, you target a mentor, you attempt when they're together at the beginning of your control phase, you draw Destiny. Destiny plus the ability is greater than 12, test complete. All opponents' force drain bonuses are canceled. Other fun little text here about describes who mentors and apprentices are. Each time you complete a Jedi test, you may also exchange one card in hand for one Jedi test in your lost pile. So if you happen to lose a Jedi test early, or get one in your hand early that you don't necessarily need, like if you had to lose an early card to Visage, and you're like, but I need everything in my hand, like, well, I could throw away test 3, put it in my lost pile, because when I complete test 1, I could then exchange and get it back. And by then, maybe I'll have found a card that I don't need as much. So your total destiny has to be greater than 12. You add your apprentice's ability. So we're starting with 5 for Daughter. Yoda adds 1 to the training destiny draws, so we're up to 6. The Dagobah site rules and things like that also say you can add 1 to your total for each Dagobah site. So we're adding 3 for that. So now we're up to 9, and you just have to get greater than 12 to complete it. So you just need to draw a 4 to complete the first test. You would need a 5 to complete the second test, and the third test is automatic. If you kind of want it to go higher than that, you might need to use some of the other cards, which this lets you pull. Cards like Yoda's Hope or Luke's Backpack. They both add 1 as well to your training total, making it a little easier to get past some of the tests, or to get past the higher level tests. The card that ruins your day would be Broken Concentration, which was showing up in some of those degenerate dark side decks, but there is also a Helper Interrupt that cancels that. That's the Effective Repairs combo. So we're going to get that Great Warrior test out. We're going to target our mentor, target our apprentice. Apprentice basically just has to be like a non-Jedi. And that all costs 6 force. So you start with just giving yourself 3 plus 1 is 4. So if your opponent gives you 2, you can put everything all out turn 1. So by batmouse pulling his system turn 1, hang on a second. By batmouse pulling his system out turn 1 to get himself some extra activation, he also gave his opponent the extra 1 icon that they needed to get their guys both out on turn 1. Without that, he only would have been able to get like 1 of the 2 characters out and not get the test set up and get all that working right away. He would have been delayed a whole turn. So sometimes it's actually also worth it not to put a location out turn 1. Play your 2-0s and things like that, and just kind of hold fast until turn 2. Like he would have just deployed Kylo and the trooper and the gun and been like, all right, whatever, I'm done. And then next turn he could have deployed the other trooper, got the system, and did his thing. Because by then they would have pulled some sights and stuff and had enough force on his own. You could go ahead and do all that. The training area, once per turn, search reserve deck, take 1 Jedi test into hand, and reshuffle. Once per turn, so you can do it on your turn and your opponent's turn. Darkside says you may use 1 force to cancel any force drain here. So if they wanted to try and drain you at the training area, you could pay a force and cancel it, but the front side of the objective already says that you can't force drain or contribute to force retrieval, so it's already canceled. If they flip and want to go sit over here and try and drain for 1 with Yoda, you can keep spending a force to just cancel it. So Darkside will go ahead and they'll pay to drain for 2, and then we'll get the 1 ping from the You'll Be Dead as well. And again, he can feel free to top deck here, because if he accidentally top decks test 3, he'll be able to go ahead and exchange for it later. He's going to throw away test 2 now again, because he could exchange for it next turn as well and get it back. It's just exchange, it's not retrieve, so you don't have to worry about occupying things like coward or whatnot for that. See if Darkside, yep, they're just going to throw the token shuttle down, probably with the random pilot. Yep, there you go. That'll flip them, which gives them their usual benefits. Also gets them around battle order. They can, yeah, do all their fun stuff. And Hux gets you a card. Yes, Informant, as we said, this deploy here is and or for all of the stuff on the front side here. So you can actually get all of this stuff in one big pull. GEMP does break it up. Each pull is an individual action, but you can continue to just keep doing it. But the way it's written here, yeah, you can get everything all in one turn. So Luke, Yoda, Hope, At Peace, and Backpack. You could play all 5 cards turn 1 if you had the force to do it. Or Leia instead of Luke. Well, there you go. You learned something. I'm sure a lot of other people did too. Mind you've learned not a deck that's played very often, so. Alright, so please note when playing on GEMP, when you draw your training destiny, the adding for the sites is an optional thing, so you do have to click. Usually it's the test that highlights when you want to do it. So you have to click on the actual test and choose to add 3 for the Dagobah sites to do it. It's a mechanical thing. So here he drew Core and Horn as a 3. He's going to add 3 to it to make it a 6. But we set a 4, so he's 1 short there. He's going to get to draw a second one, but he also has the option here of just using Yoda. Yoda could take Core and Horn into hand, get him a character, and that would let him redraw it. Nope, he's going to draw the second destiny instead. It's a 5. He'll click on the test. He'll choose to add 3. That's kind of how you have to work it. And then he'll have the option to pick which of the 2 cards that he drew that he wants to use. And then he's going to exchange and get test 2. He's swapping test 3 for test 2 because he used the training area and pulled that out. And now here's where we get Jedi test 2. Jedi test 2 deploys on an unoccupied site. I guess, well, setting it up this way here as well. So here's what would happen. So at the start, at the beginning of your move phase, opponent may relocate this to an adjacent site. So if the opponent wanted to, they could move it to the hut, they could move it to the jungle. I guess setting it up this way doesn't throw it off too much, because you're still making them move 1. I guess it still works out okay. Leia's going to move over here. He's not going to move the test to the hut. Leia's going to move over here and pay the force to move. Yoda doesn't have to go with her anymore. He still adds and everything like that. You just have to have the apprentice. So Yoda stays at the hut and the apprentice runs around Dagobah completing all the exercises. So Leia move over, attempt test 2 next turn, and then test 3 will get deployed on the jungle, and then she'll move to here, and then the following turn she'll use land speed 2 and move back to the hut. So I guess it kind of works out pretty similarly. The only, I guess, small advantage would be it saves you 1 force. The 1 force he's going to have to pay to move daughter here, he wouldn't have to pay if he had set them up differently. So 1 force, probably not a big deal when you activated 13. Yeah. Come to a major event. Scotland Grail loves to play Mind What You Have Learned. Scott played that yesterday at our local, and it did not go too well for him. So now I'll just move daughter over. So test 1 is now completed, so the force drain bonuses are canceled, so Kylo's lightsaber won't add to this drain anymore. So this is just a drain of 1. This is also a drain of 1. The finalizer will not add when it's there. So that'll save them a little bit of force. They're still going to lose the 1 ping from the you'll be dead. So basically it's still losing 3 cards this turn. Oh, there's the Wisa. We saw the Boss Nash Chamber in there. I wonder if the deck needs that extra activation. Maybe. Maybe against something like Hunt Down, it doesn't really give you any sights. You might end up needing it. Mind what you have learned, speeders. It was a great deck 5 years ago. Meat Flaps. Currently, I don't know. If you started Garrison as one of your effects and maneuvering Flaps, yeah, you've probably pretty card intensive. It might take you a little while to get your tests up and running, and you try to do 2 things early on. I don't know. Maybe there's a set 11 spoiler card or something like that that will help out with some of that stuff. Here's the other cool things you can do. Obviously, now that you've canceled their force drain bonuses, you slap projections on their sights, so their drains were only going to be 1 because the bonus is being canceled, and then now they're going to be 0. So this again is how Lightside just tries to find ways in the early game to mitigate damage so that they can then get into the mid to late game and catch up. He's going to try and push the pace with Grievous and Phasma. He deploys Phasma to the interior site where she would add a Battle Destiny, or a to Force Drain bonus because she's a First Order leader, but Force Drain bonuses are canceled. All Force Drain bonuses have been canceled. Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of Mind Once You Have Learned decks. It's a very card-intensive deck at times. It's kind of right there in that tier 2. It's a fun deck to play when it's working right, and it can be a competitive deck. Oh, time to take Anakin into hand and cause a redraw using Sir Yoda. I believe he's looking for a 5 here, because he needs to be greater than 13 to pass this. So we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yes, he needs a 5. And he drew a 6. Use the test, click to add, then you get your 2 totals, Destiny 7, Destiny 9. Pick the one that's got the higher total, complete the chest, add the apprentice's ability, see how it references it there in the log separately, and your total is 15. So now he completed test 2. Test 2 says they require 6 ability to draw Battle Destiny everywhere. Oh, apprentice is also power plus 1. Total ability of 6 or more is required for opponent to draw Battle Destiny. So General Hux aboard Kylo's shuttle is only ability 5. They no longer get Battle Destiny. Kylo and the 2 troopers are 7, so they're fine, and these guys here are a combined 6, so they are okay. Should be noted that cards that say that they draw if unable to otherwise, like P59 or Dr. E combo, they still work normally because they weren't getting Battle Destiny based on their ability. They were getting it based on their draw if unable to otherwise game text. So that all still functions normally, but people who normally only get a Battle Destiny, like say Boba Fett, who adds 1 when piloting Slave 1, or Baron Soontir Fel, who adds 1 when piloting Saber 1, they no longer get a Battle Destiny by themselves because they don't have enough ability to draw to add to that. So you need 6 ability now to get around that. Yeah, certainly slow with cannibal decks like Map and Hunt Down. Very popular in the current meta. It would be kind of tough to pull off some of these MWYHL learn decks. As other light side decks get stronger and kind of push some of these decks down the pile a little bit, MWYHL learn speeders against, say, like Ral Ops, that one might actually work out pretty well. Um, it's going to take them a couple turns to get up and running before they start doing any damage to you, and that would give you the opportunity to get yourself up and running. ISB, if that were to become popular, that's a deck that usually takes 2 to 3 turns before it really starts doing anything. So, if those were the types of decks that were being played, but currently those are not. Currently, it's map, it's it's hunt down, it's crap. I just thought of the other one. Things like Black Sun or whatnot that they do put a lot of pressure and do quite a bit of early damage. Even some of the Endor Ops decks, get to that Endor system right away and put some early pressure on you. So Test 3 now deployed. Now Test 3, because of the way of things, once the apprentice is present with it, it's automatically completed. So as soon as daughter moves over here in the move phase, Test 3 will just automatically complete. There's no destiny draws or anything required. And this is the one that says you may subtract 1 from each of opponent's destiny draws. So anything they draw destiny for, you can subtract 1 from it. So I'm sure we'll see, I'll put, and this is again why you don't want it. You want it away from them so they have to complete it. You don't want Test 2 to end up on the jungle. So that way they can't complete it during the deploy phase, and then be able to deploy in battle and do all that stuff. Profundity is going to get a barrier, but he's got a Tantive 4 to back it up. And we'll probably, he's going to Dark Time to activate one. That's going to be a little too late because he doesn't have, unless he had another barrier, he would have needed to play that beforehand. If he had a second barrier, that would have been amazing. He may still have a second barrier for a pilot. Wow, look at that. He probably wanted to grab the barrier. I can't think of what else. Maybe Trooper Assault might have been worth grabbing. Alright, so Hera's barriered. Slap a projection on that site to make that a drain of 0. I need to get Solo out. Or Anakin. Anakin will let you battle for free, so it's kind of the same force invested. So there you go. Plus he also adds 1 to your battle destiny. I'll pull weapons display. Now there's 2 things that's going to happen here. Because of the double barriers, the way cards were excluded. The Profundity is excluded because of the barrier, and then Hera was barriered as well individually, so she will be excluded. The defensive shield only says when characters are excluded, they lose 2 force. If there had been any characters on the Profundity, like if you had put Anakin on the Profundity for some reason and battled, when the ship was excluded, by rule the characters are excluded and it's not the opponent doing it, so there's no force loss for that. So he'll lose the 2 for Hera because she was barriered. But any characters who were aboard the Profundity, he would not have to lose 2 force for because the ship is being barriered, and that's what the opponent did, and then the characters are excluded as part of just a rules thing. I just like to make sure I mention that point. Some people get a little confused about that. So he's got the top deck 2 cards. Now, light side is going to have to pay a force or lose a force to draw destiny because of the objective. They do have a force available to use. And they will. And it's a 3. Now, from what I understand, he already redrew, he took Anakin into hand. From what I understand, Yoda continues to light up. I don't know if this is a GEMP bug, if it actually allows you. Yoda's once per turn. Take Destiny drawn into hand. It says right on there, once per turn. There is a glitch where he lights up to give you the option, but I don't know if it's bugged through the completion port. Like if he'll just light up to say, hey, do you want to click on him to redraw it? And then, you'll try to do it, and then GEMP will say, no, you've already done that. Or if it would actually let him take Padme into hand and redraw that when he's not allowed to. So bear in mind that if you do that and you take Padme into hand, you're cheating, um, and you're exploiting a bug loophole in the game, and that's a no-no, and you shouldn't be doing that. And your opponent may ask for a revert and say, "Hey, you already took a card into hand. You can't do that." In which case, you should grant that revert. Otherwise, you're cheating, and you have no right to continue playing the game. Hopefully, that'll be something that does get fixed by the design team sometime soon. So, light side wins the battle. They cause quite a bit of damage and overflow, just for one. So Hux covers 5, and then he peels a card for damage number 6. He gets his extra ships and stuff back. Daughter moves over and completes test 3. Which will now allow him to subtract 1 from all draws. Batmouse will stack a card, so he's going to stack the command. No force save means he can't grab anything. The shuttle is still there for now, so he'll get around battle plan, so won't have to pay to drain. And he'll do just 1 and 1 this turn, because this is a projection down to 0 over here. Sorry, I'll go back to full screen. There goes the finalizer to the Star Killer base with PV aboard. Not sure why he's putting him over there, because this adds 1 to force drains, but it wouldn't be able to drain because that's a force drain bonus. So he's going to land the shuttle. Oh, Grievous tried to steal a lightsaber. They're going to try and revert here. Oh, I guess he meant to move Grievous? I don't know. And somehow accidentally clicked to use his game text to try and steal a lightsaber, so they're just going to fix that. That's cool. Maybe that's part of it too. Maybe he wants to shuttle those guys up. Finalizer is what? Ability 4? Ability 2. And PV is only ability 2, so that's only ability 4. This doesn't get a Battle Destiny either. Batmouse will wisely cancel with strategic reserves for now. Down to 3 cards in hand. We're going to get an Obi-Wan. And we're going to get a Padme. Curious. So he had a couple options here, did Ryan. And so he opted to go Obi-Wan, Padme here to the site. He's going to clash Kylo, which is fine. And then he'll beat up on the troopers. His other option was to go to here. He could battle, clash. Actually, he could battle, swing, hit Grievous, clash him out of the battle, and then beat the crap out of Phasma. But instead, he's just going to clash Kylo right off the bat here. He can battle, swing, hit one of the troopers with the gun. The other trooper's going to shoot back and probably hit Padme. And then they'll all die along with the shuttle, and it'll just be like Obi and Kylo possibly sitting there. It's also possible Obi may end up dying, because when they're hit with the blaster, they can't be used to satisfy attrition. So if he draws decently enough, Yoda wouldn't be able to subtract enough from it to keep Obi alive. He might end up losing both guys. Whereas if he had gone... Oh, I'm sorry, he doesn't get a Battle Destiny here. Never mind. What am I talking about? Kylo's excluded. He won't get a Battle Destiny. So he'll just shoot Padme, and then it'll be Obi and Kylo. Sorry, got ahead of myself for a second. So yeah, this will still work out pretty well. It won't really cause any overflow, though, because of the extra forfeit and whatnot involved from the shuttle. You're looking at about the same power level, 8 to 8, 7 to 8. Yeah, Kylo's a little bit more power. But you can do some battle damage over here and stuff too. You can actually just exclude Grievous and just beat the crap out of Phasma and hope one of the 3 cards in his hand isn't a Gick. But this works too. And he'll wisely grab the Clash, so that way it can't be played again. So this is what MWYHL kind of does in the early part of the game. It takes some damage, loses a bunch of cards, and then it comes back with some really strong tricks and tries to clear some stuff out. Yeah, Padme's defense value -2 from the troopers, plus the gun is adding 2 when fired by a stormtrooper, so it would be highly unlikely you could draw 1, I suppose, and miss. But pretty good chance that Padme is going to get killed here. Oh, spoke too soon. That is a May using test 3. It is optional, so you do have to click it every time you want to do it. It's not just automatically -1. So that will be a destiny of 0. He'll have a total of 4, and that will miss. Then he'll get a battle destiny. It's just a little 1. But Yoda can take it in hand to redraw it, because he hasn't done that yet this turn. And that's much better. So 13-6, down by 7. The trooper and the shuttle will cover that, so no overflow damage being taken here, which is why I might have considered going to this other site, because that was overflow. This is where the source of all the damage coming is, though. Kylo, it's the extra plus. It's just a drain of 1. This is both a drain of 1, but it's the 1 ping from the blaster. I don't know. I probably would have gone for the overflow. That's just me. I'm greedy like that sometimes. If he has the Gick, he's got the Gick. He's got 3 cards in his hand. He hasn't really drawn a whole lot. He did get 2 use pile searches, but... Oh, hang on 1 second. Gotta let the cat out. Okay, let's pick this up. Gets a drain of 1, gets the stack a card, and he will get to try and sniper somebody. Oh, actually, did he draw low enough? Did he just lose the shuttle last turn? Yeah, he had 5 attrition and 7 battle damage, so he actually kept the trooper setting up the sniper play, making the guy defense value -1. That's smart. That works. He peeled 2 extra cards to do it, losing Mara and blast points. It's a good move by Batmouse. He's going to swing for Anakin. It's going to be hard to hit, though, with the -1 to each draw. He's defense value 4. So basically you have to draw 7 total to hit him, because he'll subtract 2 to make it a 5. Yep, so that's not going to do it. And now Batmouse is in a world of trouble. He's going to throw some forfeit fodder on the finalizer. He moved it back over. He's got Thrawn, PV, so he's got enough ability now. Plus, you've got Thrawn adding a battle destiny there. He shuttles the trooper up because Kylo is still clashed until the end of Lightside's next turn. So doesn't want the trooper to get beat up by himself. So he'll just get him out of harm's way and draw a couple cards. Lightside doing a little destiny check. Pretty strong destinies in there. We'll get Solo. Coming down as an extra pilot there. He's going to lose Walkling to retrieve a... Oh, he's going to use Walkling and get relatively unprotected and pay the 3/4. Taking the 7 out of the deck. So this thing here is immune to... Where's PV? So it's immune to less than 10. He'll play relatively unprotected on it, making it now -4. So now it's immune to less than 6. There is an Imperial there with Thrawn, so Hera does add a Battle Destiny. With Hera adding a Destiny, I'd almost, and Yoda being able to cancel and redraw, I'd almost rather have the 7 in the deck, but just so you have a better chance of drawing the 7 for the Battle Destiny. But I don't know, maybe it works out fine this way. If you're guaranteed to make this thing only immune to less than 6, then there's a pretty good chance that with 2 Destiny draws with the other remaining cards, you're still going to crack the 6. And make them peel a couple of troopers. If you draw, there's a 1 in there. I mean, you could redraw the Qui-Gon, but if you redraw like a 3 trying to hit the 7 and then draw the Qui-Gon after it, you end up with just a total of 8, which might not be good enough. So this works out all right. He's pretty much guaranteed himself he'll get at least 8 then with the other cards there. I think it was a bunch of 5s and maybe a 4 and a 1. So if he redraws the 1, he's guaranteed the 4 and the 5, which would be at least a 9, which will get more than just the troopers. So this way works out pretty good. No objections to this play. He's going to play command to keep you from drawing more than 1. Oh, because it was stacked on map. Yep. But 1 draw isn't going to crack 6. Because there's no 6s in the deck now. There's just a bunch of 5s. And nobody adds to the total there. Oh, you can solo to add 1 to make it a 6. That works. That works. So we'll get a Destiny of 6, which will be the 2 First Order Troopers. That'll get forfeited. Darkside will draw their 2, which will get subtracted. And then we'll probably see Solo end up getting... Actually, depending on what he draws, may not have to lose anything. Hux is gone. And then you can use Yoda and subtract 2 from the attrition. So now the attrition total will be 0. Yoda uses his once per turn over there. And now Lightside loses nothing. Because Darkside drew poorly. Poorly. That was terrible. If he had drawn a little better, he'd probably lose Solo here. Solo's already used his once per game. Kind of outlived his usefulness. Hera's still adding the second Destiny. Profundity's adding a lot of power and forfeit. So it would probably be Solo. There's the Rescue in the Clouds. That'll get him the Qui-Gon out of the deck. May have also considered taking the Barrier Canceller. But for right now, you just want the high Destinies in case there is an upcoming battle. But taking the Barrier Canceller is never a bad idea either, especially when your opponent has already shown they're playing multiples of them, as he barriered 2 guys in 1 turn. But Darkside's in a lot of trouble here because they are slowly losing ground and losing board position, and there isn't going to be a whole lot they can do about it to get it back. You really start to get hamstrung by the 6 ability requirements in certain places, like Kylo can't do anything by himself right now. He's going to need some help. Force pushing, you got a trooper. That's not the guy you want a barrier. Probably spend a little bit of force here deploying some of the other guys, and then we'll possibly see Snoke. I would think would have been the card he may have force pushed for if he didn't have him already, because then Snoke gets you the used pile search, which could then get you another character on top of it. Possibly see a Dr. E. Nope, looks like he didn't have it. Or opted not to to go that route. He's going to cancel Obi's game text. He's going to play blast points to go get the gun. Take a low destiny out of the deck at the same time. He's gearing up for a fight. And he's going to trooper assault and bring that fight. That's a 5, even with subtracting 1 and using the WISA, that's still going to hit. So that may not have been the wisest play there. Because the gun shoots at +2 when by a trooper, and she's defense value 3 because he's -1. So 5, 4, 3, and that was 3 plus 2, so still hit. So that may not have been the best use of a WISA. Could have possibly saved it for this guy here in case he hits. Because that's Hux is gone, so that's just a 3. That gets subtracted down to 2, and that should miss. Right. So Louisa ended up not being needed. And Lightside's got a couple of nice destinies sitting right here. Should be a 5 and a 6. One of them will be for Battle Destiny. The other one will be for Attrition Destiny because of Padme adding with Anakin. Plus Anakin adding 1 to the draw, so that's a 7. So now Lightside doesn't lose the battle to Kylo and have to lose extra force for that. It's also important. And then they're going to tack on some attrition as well. He opts to redraw it here because it's the rescue. It's a pretty high destiny, same destiny anyway. But more importantly, he's looking to get this card to possibly cancel the barrier. He can subtract 2, but he still has to lose 1 in attrition here, which means Obi or Anakin's going to have to go. Not that it really matters because Darkside's losing everything. Oh, actually, the troopers play Trooper Assault, so they're immune. Okay, so yeah, so Obi's going to stay. Anakin's going to go. And if he activates 11, he's going to have a nice pile of high destiny sitting right there. Drop Qui-Gon, battle, swing, and hit both these clowns, and cause some damage. Now I'm sure Batmouse will probably move these guys up. Nope, Batmouse is just drawn. I guess he's looking. Guess he's looking for help. We're looking for his Gick.
I can send my proof this way.
Thank you very much, Platypus, for resubscribing. Currently on an 8-month streak. Awesome. I think my subscription is up in the next day or two. I'll have to make sure and resubscribe. Actually, I think I can do it now. I'll do that myself in just a minute. Gonna command in space. Did he play that to take a guy? Oh, yeah, it looks like they're reverting. I guess he must have misclicked the wrong action. Obviously, he wants to limit his opponent to only 1 battle destiny. So we'll try and get that fixed here. This battle should still go fairly well. For light side. that's going to be the last card they drew. It's going to be the 5. So that will not crack the immunity because Solo is still there. So it's immune to less than 6. And I don't see any other ways to add because we've already used the Solo heading trick. Did it freeze when they did the revert? Sometimes it does that with the game links. When they do a revert, things freeze up. That's unfortunate. Alright, so this battle here probably would have gone, kind of similar to how we'd expect. Solo's going to go, he's going to draw, he's going to subtract. Maybe Darkseid loses a couple cards. Then down here, these guys are going to get beat up, swung, hit, and possibly need a Gick. And light side is going to continue. I'm assuming, Ryan, you can confirm, but I'm assuming you won this game. You certainly seem to have the upper hand and board control at this point. You survived the early damage and were able to stabilize, and sounds like you pulled ahead. Beat up the troopers, no Gick. Okay. I'll use Geoda to redraw the 5 into the Jedi Luke, the clear Thrawn. That works. Yeah, I wasn't exactly tracking what order your destinies were in. Awesome. So thank you very much for sharing the link. Obviously, yeah, sometimes when the reverts, we all know it doesn't, it glitches up sometimes. So good, well played, and thank you very much for providing the link so we can take a look at the mechanics of Mind What You Have Learned and just why there aren't very many helper cards for it, because when it really does get going, certain things with the Jedi tests and things can make it very, very unfun to play against. So yeah, so there's Mind What You Have Learned, guys. Dorsch got your first win against Tom. Took him whiffing on 5 early weapon battle destinies and forgetting to forlum, so his tracked 7 didn't choke out Luke in a battle late game. Oh, well, congrats on your win, Dorsch. Yeah, Ryan beat up the troopers and he didn't have a Gick, so yeah, that would have been hit, forfeit 0, hit, forfeit 0, draw battle destiny. You're at like, what, 16 to 7, approximately, 14, 15 to 7, and he's got to peel a bunch more cards. Yeah, that would definitely be game over. Take a quick old peek back in the GEMP lobby, see if there's anything else left still going. These guys just started Old Allies vs. Huntdown. That game's going to be a while. And it's already 8:30. I did promise you one more spoiler card. Thank you guys very much for sticking it out through all the Mind What You Have Learned Dagobah stuff. Not Dagobah boring as it once was. The May OCS foil, for those of you who hit your goal, is an alternate image as well of DS615. Little grainy, try and catch the angle off the light. Stop moving my hand. There you go. So it's an AI of him. It's the typical dude in the black mask. DS615. Shiny. Ooh. So that's a pretty cool one. I really like that one and the way that came out. But that is going to do it for this week's show. So thank you guys all very much for joining. As always, if you haven't subscribed or resubscribed, be sure and do that just by hitting that purple button there, just like I just did. You give the show a 3 out of 5, Dan, or you give the foil card a 3 out of 5? Oh, the show. Oh, well, thanks. One of these days, Dan, you can do your own show. The one that you and Queso keep talking about. But I'm the only one putting out content, so. But we'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you guys very much. You guys have a great Monday, and thanks for watching.